Gran Turismo is a new film directed by Neill Blomkamp, starring, let's see, David Harbour, Orlando Bloom, and Archie Madekwe as the real person John Mardenborough. Sorry, I'm such a Gen Zer looking at my phone while doing reviews. But anyway, it follows the true story of that person's journey from becoming a fan of Gran Turismo, a gamer who loves to play the Gran Turismo games, into becoming a real-life racing champion. So I also am a massive gamer, though my relationship with video games at the moment has become very different to what was in the past, which I'll explain later. I do have my own, so let me just move the camera a little bit, my own PlayStation 4 sitting there. It's always out of camera shot, but I am, funnily enough, the PS4 is the first PlayStation console I ever owned. My dad bought it for me in 2019, along with my new plasma screen TV, which is right behind the camera. I won't show it, but anyway, so I am a fan of a lot of PlayStation games, though I'm not really loyal to a particular gaming company. I just like good games, and I do like a lot of the PlayStation exclusives. I played The Last of Us, Uncharted, played a bit of God of War, though I got stuck on that game, so I quit. The Witcher 3, though that's not exclusive to the PS4, but you get the deal. I love Ghost of Tsushima as well. I thought that was an absolutely fantabulous game. But anyway, funnily enough, I've never played Gran Turismo. I played a few racing games. I played a lot of Mario Kart. I think I tried Forza once. I did play Colin McRae Rally in 2005 when I was a kid on Xbox, which was the first gaming console that I ever played. So, but yeah, never touched Gran Turismo. It does seem very similar to Forza. Maybe Forza ripped it off, because I know Gran Turismo 1 came out in 1998 for the PS1. Very blocky graphics by today's standards, but back then it did look very realistic. But anyway, enough about that. I did actually really have a good time with this movie. My expectations were very low because the trailers kind of made it look kind of corny. Like it wasn't very faithful, that it was going to be a bit of a slap in the face to gamers. And I think I should further elaborate. I was a big gamer in the 2010s. I first played video games in 2004. Funnily enough, before then, I didn't like video games. I thought they were kind of like time-sucking evil things that people became addicted to and didn't want to do anything else. And then I started playing games, and that kind of did prove to be true, I guess. But I did enjoy it, and it wasn't my entire life, of course. It was in moderation. But that kind of turned into a bit of an addiction in the 2010s. Starting about 2020, I started to really open my eyes to like how much I was playing games, and it kind of like tapered off until I watched Jordan Shanks' video of his opinion on video games. Of him just basically saying that video games are not good for your mental health. They have no redeeming real life qualities for achieving your goals. They are nothing but time sinks, waste of time, and they somehow ruin your attention span and emotional intelligence. So that video for me was kind of the final nail in the coffin for thinking that video games are good for you. Because it is a bit of a controversial topic, video games compared to other forms of media. I still haven't given up gaming completely. I haven't sold my consoles or stopped playing them, but I have stopped playing them for periods of time and focused on other things like reading and studying and just watching TV and trying to, focus on my real life ambition goals, which is filmmaking. But that video did have a pretty big impact on me. But I have friends and people saying that video games aren't that bad. And this movie kind of was also an argument for that discussion as well, because what the movie explains, this is a true story of a guy who does love to play Gran Turismo and was put in a very experimental and unconventional academy program that was never done before, very unprecedented, and turned out to prove all these people wrong of saying that he actually learnt real-life racing skills from Gran Turismo, which is pretty cool. So the reason why I thought this movie was probably not for me and was going to be corny was because of the way it was marketed. I kind of just remember that one line that David Harbour says saying, "Did you get points for that in the game?" And I was like, this movie might not be that great. And like him saying that, the obvious thing is that if you fail in the game, you can start again. If you fail in real life, you could lose your life, which is really obvious. So I wasn't expecting this movie to be a masterpiece, and I'm not saying that it is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it has turned out to be actually probably one of the best video game adaptations that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's not like the Last of Us series or the Uncharted movie or any of the previous stuff, Super Mario, where it's set in the gaming universe. This is actually a real-life true story that was spawned from a fictional game, which is actually really cool and actually sort of educational in a way, which is something that I haven't gotten from any other video game movie that I've seen. And what I was also surprised by this movie is how this movie actually does build up quite a bit of tension. It's actually quite nerve-wracking to watch it sometimes, and sometimes it does get a little bit depressing, and sometimes the anxiety doesn't really taper off or go down. I think one complaint about this movie is that I didn't really feel like it had that much comedy in it, and didn't have... It felt very serious at times, and sometimes felt a bit sad. I won't spoil what happens in the movie because it's not a spoiler review, but I do still prefer Ford v Ferrari as my all-time favourite racing movie, because even though that movie had serious moments in it, it was fairly light-hearted, and it did have a lot of funny moments, and Christian Bale was very likeable and positive and very quippy and easygoing. This movie is not like that. It has a very different tone to it. It kind of, sort of feels a bit like Cars 3 in a lot of ways, but even though this movie is a lot better than Cars 3, I'm not saying I hate Cars 3, but it was pretty dark for a kids' film. But this is not a kids' film. This is a PG-13 M-rated movie. It's kind of what you would expect. But despite saying that, this is still a very entertaining movie. It is very smart and very well knowledgeable of what it's trying to be. The movie is shot pretty well, even though I thought that Ford v Ferrari was shot a lot better than this film. I'm not saying that this film had bad cinematography, I just felt like it wasn't always consistent or as direct or as, not easy to watch, but like maybe it was a little bit over the place at some points, and it wasn't as clear as Ford v Ferrari. But I'm not saying that it was bad, I'm just saying Ford v Ferrari was one step ahead of this movie in the terms of the direction and the visuals and the cinematography. But the cinematography in this movie was decent and good at times, but it didn't really go into what I thought was truly incredible. But apart from that, I thought this movie was actually very, very good. I am going to give it an 8 out of 10, so that does say a lot of what I thought about this movie when I'm comparing it to other video game adaptations. I actually think it might actually be Neill Blomkamp's best movie since District 9, which I actually own a copy of, which I first watched in 2014. The thing I loved about District 9 as his debut is it's a really tense movie. This is not an easy movie to watch. Sometimes it's often disgusting, very putrid at times, and it actually has one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen in a movie, even though it's not a horror film. Spoilers for District 9, stop now, but like, if you've seen it, you know what I mean. There's a scene in the movie where Wickus is smuggled away from by evil scientists, experimented on, forced to kill innocent aliens, and they attempt to take his life by literally ripping his heart out without giving him any sort of anesthetic. He survives, by the way, but when I first saw that movie, that really actually made me feel really uneasy watching that scene. I mean, like, I know it's just a movie, but the way it was shot in this very like documentary handheld style made it feel like it was actually happening, even though it wasn't. But like, it made you feel like there are people out there that would have done this to somebody if something like this happened. And that was the scariest part of the movie to me. But anyway, I haven't seen every Blomkamp movie. I haven't seen Elysium. I saw Chappie. That was enjoyable, but it wasn't as good as District 9 or this movie. So this might be a return to form for Neill Blomkamp, because people have said Neill Blomkamp is like M. Night Shyamalan. He's made one good, great movie, and it's been a step down since then. But this was a really good step back up for Neill Blomkamp, and I really applaud him for adapting this true story into a movie, because it's important. You know, video games aren't all bad. There are good things to be taken away from them. There are negatives for sure, but it's not a useless waste of time or what so many think it is. I mean, in moderation it's good, and I think that's a good message for a modern gaming film to have, and that's really what I have to think about it. Definitely see it if you haven't seen it already. I'm not telling you to go watch this movie immediately, because it is pretty much almost out of theatres now, but if it comes out on Blu-ray, Netflix, DVD, definitely give it a watch, because it is entertaining. But anyway, that's what I have to think about Gran Turismo. I hope you enjoyed what I thought of the movie, and as always, take care. See ya.